Hello everyone and welcome to the round 15 wrap up. Hope you all had a good weekend. Hope you all had some good SuperCoach scores. I'm sure a few of you might have been in the same boat as me where after yesterday you were all done. I didn't have any players playing on Sunday, but look, still a couple of interesting games today. The Raiders and the Knights game had a very tight finish. Let's Trot for all any Canterbury fans out there absolutely smashed the Tigers. That's 2 in a row now for them. Really big win for them. Seeing a lot of big scores here. I'm seeing Davey, Mark, welcome to everyone in the chat, Jake, Tyler, Queenslander, as always, John. I saw you were tweeting at me earlier with a really good score this week. Davey, Amir. Yeah, I'm seeing scores like 1300 plus, 1236, 1251, another 1253, 1204, a few on the lower end as well with 1189. Nathan, 1503. Mate, Nathan, you have to post me tweet me your team or something. That's 1503 is by far the highest that I've seen, because the highest I've seen in the leagues that I'm in is 1404. Shout out to actually Ryan from the SuperCoach 365 podcast. He absolutely smashed it this week. So I finished on 1266, which I think I'm happy with. I know people are always wondering about what is past score and all this kind of thing. So I always take the Podmasters Cup and I look at their scores after updates and things, or like what the current scores are. Just take an average of that just to get a sense of what the average might be. So the average in the Podmasters Cup was 1217. So just above 1200, but on the lower end. So I think I usually, the Podmasters League, I think is like third ranking wise. So I'd probably take out maybe 20 to 30 points on that. So I'd say if you've got 1200, that's probably par. So I think if you've just got above that, you've probably done well. But obviously it does depend where you are sitting ranking wise. Like I've got 1266 and now I'm about 5.8k. So I think that's probably going to be enough for a green this week. If you're kind of in the pointy end and you maybe just got low 1200s, then you might be holding firm, maybe drop a little bit. But yeah, I'm thinking 1200. It was looking like a really low scoring week, and then obviously some updates have come in. Joey Manu, justice for Manu, he got his try assist. I know Angus hasn't got his line break though, so there's a few dubious calls, I guess you want to call it that. Joseph Swali, my goodness, I absolutely missed that man. Selling him was a horrible mistake, because I realized I have to watch him now not owning, and boy, that is hard. Me and right wingers just don't seem to be doing well this season. Cobbo, Swali, I'm sure there's plenty of others. Karaz, I benched him again, so missed out some more points there. But look, I can't complain. We were 1266. I think it's a good week. There'll be some updates maybe that come further. And yes, Shades of Red, it is Ravalawa season. Yeah, so I did send out a tweet apologizing for that, because I was really not keen on the Ravalawa pick. I was like, the Dragons attack. Like, come on, no one can tell me the Dragons, you thought they were going to do that to the Rabbitohs in the first half. They absolutely blitzed them off the park. Ravalawa scores a double. I think he's ended up on 69 points. I have got it here, haven't I? 76. Okay, he went up to a little bit. So he scored 76 with a double. So look, obviously if you picked him up at that cheap price, you've done really well out of that. Could be Ravalawa season. I'll still maintain my thoughts though, because I think they had a pretty tough run still coming up. But look, yeah, I think anyone who's sitting above 1200, you probably should be okay with that. But obviously it does depend on your ranking. My God, C-Tom, thank you so much for that. Prep for round 17 a little early with Mulatalo and Alex Johnston. Both of them didn't do too well this week. Anyway, hope you're doing well, man. Oh, thank you so much, mate. That is really, really appreciated. That is really generous of you. Yeah, look, I'm doing really well. Had a really good weekend. Was productive, and yeah, look, had a decent SuperCoach weekend wise as well. Some amazing games as well, NRL wise. The Eels Roosters game was insane. Like, I'm a Roosters fan, but you just had to kind of sit back and enjoy what was happening. I know what was happening to my team. I'm sure every other team's fans were enjoying that, because most other people don't like the Roosters. And it was a really, really good performance from the Eels in that first half. There was just some really interesting games. We spoke about it before. The Dragons Souths game had a really exciting first half as well. Melbourne Broncos game was actually quite tight as well. So yeah, there were some good games. And now we've got a bit of time off as well. So we've got the rep round. I will also... anyone who gets, say, the confirmed New South Wales lineup, do message in the chat as well. I'm just trying to keep an eye out for the official announcement, but I've got some ideas to what the changes will be for the New South Wales team. So, for example, this is the team that Michael Chammas was tweeting out. I don't know if it would exactly be like this, but there's definitely a few players who have come in and a few players who have left. So the main players that seem to have left the squad look like RCG. I think Ryan Madison looks to be out as well. Tony Stagg seems to have been dropped. And I think Tupou looks like he's still kept his spot. But yeah, it looks like the centers will be Matt Burton and Crichton. So Matt Burton's a big in. I'm hearing some talk about Adokar, I'm not sure if he's actually got his spot back. Jake Trbojevic looks like he's back in as well, probably for Campbell Gillard. Looks like Cam Murray's probably going to start on the edge, which is what I expected. Siva Talakai, that's another big one. So Talakai looks like he might potentially be a bench player. And then you've also got Angus Crichton, looks like he's also back in for New South Wales on the bench. And looks like Joseph Suwali is actually the 18th man potentially, which would be interesting for Game 3 if that was also the case, because that probably means that Nico Hines, if he's out of the 18-man squad, unless he's 19th man, would actually be available for us for round 17. So that's something that's interesting to take note of there. So a few changes from the New South Wales team. I don't think all of them had to be made, but I think a similar thing happened in 2019 where they made a lot of changes for Game 2. And from memory, I think it was they won 38-6. So who knows, maybe Freddie's trying to go for a round 2 of that as well. But yeah, I'll get to your questions, guys, as well. Obviously, keep your scores coming in. Obviously, we'll go through some questions as well. But of course, you know me, poems. I love my poems. So I wanted to do a bit of a quick poem before we start diving into your questions and wrapping up all the... we don't have to wrap up all the games, but we'll get into your questions. So I put a little poem together for this week. Now, this one is going to be more specific to a particular position for this week, because I think there was a lot of talk around the CT dubs. So this one is for all the centers and wingers. Brian To'o's junk try was an absolute stinger. Ruben did fine, despite his team's collapse. They were left licking their wounds, picking up the scraps. Graham vs Lomax, it was Zach who won the fight. Jesse Ramian tried, with all of his might, to spoil it for Katoa, but he still beat Ronaldo. Taylor May did nicely, not so for Tango. Eels vs Roosters, an absolute belter, it was a scoring spree. Manu got his assist, and how I miss Joseph Suwali. I benched Karaz for his 73, that's now 2 in a row for the Dogs from Canterbury. Alright, there you go. There is my poem for round 15, all about the centre wings there. I think, all this talk about round 17 centre wings, Suwali doing well, licking my wounds that I've sold him, Karaz on my bench, 73, I thought, let's just do the poem for this position. So hopefully you guys enjoy that one. Aman come Bondi for Ruben Cotter highlights and chill. Mate, thank you for the offer, but I'm not sure I'm going to go all the way out to Bondi. I think it's raining right now as well, so pretty grim, I think, to be, heading out in this weather. Ruben Cotter, I think, big questions now about Cotter. Anyone who sold Cotter, a few weeks back when round 13 hit, you've lucked out. Well, not lucked out, sorry, that's probably the wrong way to say it. You've done well out of that, because he's obviously missed a game in round 14 because of the quick turnaround in games, and now he's obviously picked up this hamstring strain, which looks like it's about maybe a month. So I think he's out for Origin, and obviously hamstring is one of those tricky injuries. So, if you're a Cotter owner, I see Jonah, your question, what do you do with Cotter now? I think you've got to sell. Unfortunately, that's probably the case. If he's out for 4 weeks, he's at a decent value, unless you've got low trades and you can cover him, because he will be handy. But I guess the question is, with a hamstring, can he come back to full performance and kind of replicate what he's been doing so far to begin the year? So for me, my initial thought is probably to sell. I would need to give it some thought. But obviously this week is going to be a little bit different. So I think someone else asked the question, is there NRL this week? So there won't be any NRL club games. There'll be the rep round. So you'll have the New Zealand, Tonga, and then obviously State of Origin on Sunday. So I think those rep games happen on Saturday from memory. And I think there's a NRLW game on the Friday. I'd have to double check that. So there won't be any club games, and it'll be another week. So there'll be a couple of weeks until actual NRL games to deal with. So obviously we can take a little bit of a break from SuperCoach. I'll have a think about different types of, maybe some content to actually put in during this week as well, or I might just take a break as well. We'll see. But so that'll be how it works for the next couple of weeks. So I can see someone's asking about McInnes. McInnes was a bit disappointing. So if you want to we'll quickly touch on that Sharks game. So I think Hines got one of the try assists for Katoa. I think the one that Kennedy just did a little tap on, I think they've given that to Hines. So he updated massively up to 96. Cam McInnes only played the 50 minutes, which is not great. Finucane did play on the bench for 39 minutes. McInnes has been playing around 50 to 55, which I think is slightly under what I was expecting. 48 points in 50 minutes is great PPM. That just shows his work rate. But it's a bit disappointing because Robson has been doing a lot better than Cotter. I'm guessing that's what you're referring to, Tums, in terms of Robson being better than him. It could be Cotter or McInnes, but Robson has been doing really, really well. He scored another try. So I really if you picked up Robson you'd be very happy with that, if you got him for that round 13 cover. Although Appy Coruscant, he did really well for me this week. I think he got 87. He's got 2 try assists with 2 line break assists, so he really did well this week, which was handy. Like Panthers, most of the Panthers did well except Isaac Tango. The likes of To'o, Taylor May, Cleary, Coruscant, Isaiah Yeo, even if you still held Yeo, they all did really well this week. It was just Tango who was kind of lacking. And Dylan Edwards, I think, scored like 100 plus as well. So yeah, a lot of the standard scorers from the Panthers game. Sharks, again, still not looking quite the same as what they have beginning of the year. They've got that, like, they're just not quite executing, I think, in attack, and they still look a little bit clunky. Like the Titans, hard fought, but just we're not looking particularly as clunky. So I guess I think I've got enough Sharks players. I'll leave it at that. I've got Hines, McInnes, Mulatalo, and Talakai. I could get Katoa as well, but maybe especially with the next round of games that we've got coming up. They've got, I think, like Melbourne. They've got the Bulldogs next week, which is a decent matchup, although Bulldogs are definitely in form. Then it's Melbourne, I think Penrith, and then the Cowboys in some kind of order. So they've got a pretty tough month coming up ahead. So I think you can kind of cap your Sharks investment. G'day, man. You got 1296. Do you think that is good kit? Yeah, Tom, look, 1296 I think is a great score. So we were discussing it a little bit earlier. I think the Podmasters average was about 1217 before any final updates. And so 1217 makes me think maybe about 1200 is par, or about 1220. So I think if you've gotten above, like, say 1200, let's say if you got about above 1230, 1240, I think you're probably in a good spot this week. So 1296 I think is definitely for sure a really good week. If you're pushing 1300, I think you've smashed it this week. Like I've got 1266 and I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's like the 5th highest score in the Podmasters. So it was a bit of a down week for some teams as well. So I think this week you might see some shifts in ranking wise as well, because a few teams at the top I've seen didn't do that well, and a few of the lower teams have actually done really well in terms of ranks. So yeah, they could do well. Thoughts on Ramian? Yeah, look, if I was a Katoa owner, I kind of did reference it there in my poem. Ramian was doing everything he could to not give Katoa points. He was just trying to like take it on himself. He just butchered a couple of tries. So I feel lucky as a non-Katoa owner, because that 74 could very easily be like 100, 120 plus. But Ramian definitely didn't do too well for him. 35 points. Ramian is not really, I think, the option, from the Sharks. I think, Mulatalo, Katoa well above him in the pecking order in terms of, like, for Supercoach purposes, and then even Talakai, because he's got dual. So, like, Ramian, Jai, just answer your question. I'm not sure if you're looking at him for Supercoach. I wouldn't necessarily go there, I think. I'd be looking at the wingers or Talakai. But even Talakai's not really done amazingly. Ever since that 165 game against Harper, not done too much. How good is Tino? Yeah, Tino is just continually smashing out big numbers. 77 again this week. So he's definitely an option with his dual status. Looked at him briefly last week, but like the guy just has an insane, work rate. All of his points are in base and base power. Like the run points is ridiculous. 37 points in runs from Tino. So yeah, he's he absolutely kills it every week. So definitely could be an option. If you covered round 17, that'd be really handy. But unfortunately, we're obviously looking at that as an element of our kind of choice as well. How much of Karaz increased? So look, he had a minus 11 break even, and he scored 73. So I'm not very good at doing those price predictions, Joshua. I can have a quick look-see for you in case other people are interested. So I've just jumped onto, actually, I'll bring it up here so it'll be a bit easier to see for you guys. So if I go tools, price change calc, let's go Karaz. Let's say his predicted score, let's say 73. Submit. So he'll go up about 59k this week, Joshua, to answer your question, according to the NRL Stats price change calculator. So that's a nice big increase. Excuse me. So yeah, Karaz will be making a lot of money. Looks a serious option as well. The Bulldogs in a bit of good form as well. So yeah, happy to hold him. Didn't play him because I thought my reserves were better. Look, he was still a very good option against the Tigers. But yeah, look, he looks set for a big cash increase. Sorry, my laptop's spazzing out a bit. Was Ponga spotted on the circuit in Canberra last night? Yeah, so they were mentioning it in the coverage, Amir, that he was feeling ill. So he had like a stomach ache or had some stomach issues. So maybe he did what you're suggesting. But yeah, could be just some bad takeaway as well. Avarillo pod worked out, mate. If you got on Avarillo, you'd be ecstatic. he did super well. I think he score a double? He did score a double, yeah, 73 points. He's been doing really well actually recently. I think the shift to fullback for him is doing super well. So yeah, good shout there, Clone Commander. Benny G, howdy champion. How good is Toto? Oh mate, you give me the wink emoji. Yeah, I didn't get Toto this week, and I was playing it down a little bit on your post. I was saying, oh please don't get 130 because I didn't own him, and I would have loved to get Toto this week. I just couldn't really do it with my team setup. I didn't end up doing trades, by the way. I held trades this week. That's now 2 times. The 2 times that I've held trades, I've actually had a good week out of it. I should probably do it more often, shouldn't I? Instead of selling like Sawali for his 100 plus points. But yeah, I'm seeing some love for Max King. Max King is so good. He outscored Payne Haas again, so I know that was a big topic. Payne Haas, what do you do with him this week? I think if you've sold him, you're probably happy because you probably sold him to Tarpany, and he bossed it, got like 80 plus. Yep, Zach, I can see you, Tarpany, Wingface. Everyone's chucking me with Wingfaces with all their players who did well, who I don't own. Yeah, Tarpany, like, what is Tarpany throwing cutout balls for? I was like, man's a prop, not a halfback. And then he gets a try assist, line break assist. I'm just like, oh my God, as a non-owner, that killed me. And especially it happened right at the beginning of the game as well. Yeah, man is absolutely been killing it recently. I think 81 points he scored. Absolutely smashing it. So yeah, Max King as well, season keeper. Mate, if Max King keeps this up, there's no way I'm trading this guy. Like, front row forward is a dead position, and this guy's smashing out 60 plus points. I think I need to figure out how to play him in my team. You sold Haas for Guac, Matthew. Like, yeah, look, I know the points difference between the two is only 5 points, but I would prefer Guac over Haas. Like, Guac has got the upside that Haas probably doesn't. So I think that's, in the long run, going to work out for you. Haas will obviously miss games through Origin, so I think that will work for you. Butcher to who? Yeah, we'll quickly touch on Nat Butcher as well. That is really unfortunate. I know the Whisperer played Nat Butcher, really capped him. He only scored the 12 points. Obviously, he got that HIA, and his brother as well. Hope he's okay. He had a really bad looking HIA as well. But yeah, so that's a bit of a killer if you own Butcher. So I know a few people this week did like Nat Butcher to Toto, and I was like, oh mate, that's an easy move. He had a break even of 58, so he will lose some cash. 450k. So I will quickly, I know Jaden, you've just asked Butcher to who. So I'm actually thinking for anyone who's looking at this, round 17 second row forwards, it's a bit of a dead position. One person I actually don't mind is Mitch Barnett. So Barnett playing on an edge, we saw it last year, was really better for him because this is when the Knights were obviously performing a little bit better. They're on the top 8. But when he played on the edge and when he was goal kicking as well, he was actually not close to a must, but he was a very, very popular option. I just want to have a quick look at what minutes he played today, just before I start getting into that more analysis on him. So he played 66 minutes, okay. But I believe Barnett went off with a HIA. So I think he would have actually probably played the full 80 if he was on the field. He put in a good shift this week, had a lot of effort. Really, solid 73 points in 66 minutes. Now that is, boosted up by I think he had a line break assist for Adam Clune's line break. So yeah, and he got the try contribution as that as well. So that's 12 points, but still, you take away those 12 points, and he's sitting on 61 in 66 minutes in tackles and work rate. And he's at a price, like if you are a Nat Butcher owner, he's probably at an easy swap price-wise. He had a 57 break even, so he'll go up a little bit to maybe 470k. So you could do a completely straight swap. And the last few weeks, since he's come back from that pretty bad suspension, 78, 54, 41, 61, and now 73. So only that one low score on 41, and they may have versus the Panthers. I can't quite remember. But yeah, look, Barnett could be an option, Jaden, if you're looking. I'm looking at him potentially if I'm looking to boost up my round 17 numbers. Maybe selling someone like an Aitken to a Barnett. I could do that. And if he could just be kind of a 4th, 5th, second row forward option for you that you can play on matchups or something. And actually, before I finish up on him, Knights, I know they're not performing very well and it's a bit of a heartbreaking loss for them. They do have a nice run home for the rest of the season. So if I look at it here, so they've got next week, they've got the Titans and then Rabbitohs and then Manly. So I feel like all those teams can concede points. And then you've got the Roosters. So slightly tougher short term, but I still think for a forward, it's not that bad. Then you've got the Bulldogs, Tigers, Broncos, Raiders, Titans, and Sharks again. So they're not playing any of like the Cowboys, the Storm, or the Panthers for the rest of the season. So not a bad run. So there could be some better potential for attacking numbers. So I don't mind someone like a Barnett. or maybe a Kolomatangi if you're looking for someone else for round 17 cover. Like who goes for Cotter? Another mullet in your back row. Yeah, maybe Kolomatangi, you mentioned Amir. Maybe the Barnett. I don't mind the Barnett shout. Yeah, so I'm seeing a few people for Adam Elliott. Let me bring that score back up. Yeah, so I have to give shout out to Whisper again. He really was able to see through the Ricky's roulette and find that, Elliott was a good option. And something I need to work out better is just getting over these little biases. I'd always talk about Ricky Roulette, can't trust him, but he managed to see through Elliott and say, look, you know what, there's no risk, really, and he's managed to just turn into, close to a keeper. He's been absolutely bossing it the last 3 weeks, and he got 100 plus, I think, a few weeks before that as well. So yeah, Adam Elliott, if you're an Adam Elliott owner, I'm not sure you'd be looking to sell anytime soon. Sell Crichton. I don't think I'd be selling Crichton. He got 60 points and could arguably have a line break thrown in there as well, which would make him a 70 points. 60 points when his team got absolutely wrecked in the first half. Look, you'll take that. So I don't think there's any worry about selling Angus. There's a few penalties conceded, so he had -6 in there. So look, on another day, 1 or 2 less errors, gets a line break, and you're looking at 70, 75, and I think you'd be happy with that, right? iPad got 73 with a try, so I think nothing wrong with what Angus got. So I'm not looking to really sell him. So yeah, Cotter, I think, we'll definitely talk about Cotter to Grant. The only issue I have with going with Grant now, I know he did well. He had 78 and he had a 100 and something break even. Sorry, let me bring it up. 150 break even. So he's going to continue to go down in price, and then after round 16, he's going to miss round 17, and then maybe round 18 could be backing up from Origin. I just feel like it's not quite yet the right time to be going back to Grant. That's what I'm saying. Even if you have Cotter, if you've got enough depth to cover him, just hold him. You could just hold him and then use him to sell to Grant later in the future. Obviously, otherwise you can go maybe to another second or forward or a hooker, depending on where you've got Cotter in there. But yes, I feel like Hanny, I wouldn't go straight yet Cotter to Grant. I feel like it's still a little bit too early. How weird were the rescores this week? Hines up to 96, even the live scoring with Manu not getting any love. Thank you, Gazaraki. Thanks so much. Really, really appreciate that. Yeah, the scoring this week was a bit strange. There was only one game updated after ages, and then all of a sudden they all came through, and then they started doing rescoring as well. So Manu got his try assist, rightly so in my opinion. Look, I don't normally really complain about scoring for SuperCoach. I'm normally just it's out of my control. I can't really do too much about it. In all honesty, so there's no point really, dying over a hill for it. But the Manu one, I was like, that's outright. If he doesn't get that, I'd be pretty annoyed just for the lack of common sense with it, because Teddy just shovels the ball on. So look, Manu got his try assist. No need to panic anymore. So yeah, I'm happy with that. 85 points from Manu, but Joseph Suwali, oh my goodness, I might try buy this guy back because. Another little poem for you. Because the kid is a freak, man. He's 18 years old and he's absolutely smashing it every week. Hard runs out of his own end. He's soaring above the pack to score tries. This is the thing, actually. The Eels actually concede the most SuperCoach points to right wingers. I probably should have mentioned this earlier in the week. Because I probably would have suggested to play Suwali on that knowledge. So I know a few people did sit Suwali, 101 points. Yeah, massive. And obviously that's a bit of a hit to Tedesco because he lost rightly. He lost that try assist. Payne about to lose a lot of money. Yeah, he will lose some money, which is annoying. But look, we've got Max King there. So I think maybe in the weeks where Payne Haas got some Origin, I might just play Max King over him. I think Max King has shown enough to be a safe option. Look, he'll lose money. I think the week to sell was now. He's going to lose price. If he goes close to 500 or even below that, I don't see the value in selling at that point. Ramsey, what a goat. Yeah, Ramsey had a really good performance, as did the Dragons in the first half, 70 points. So he was actually a cheapie who's done pretty well a few weeks ago when people went on him. So yeah, Ramsey, really good outing there. Could be a cheap option for round 17, similar to Ravalawa. I'd prefer Ramsey to Ravalawa just for the fact that he's playing at fullback. So, opportunities to get points on both sides of the field compared to Ravalawa. And I won't even say that the Dragons favour the right-hand side, because they really look to Moses Suli as well as an attacking outlet. Suli's probably better out of his own end with tackle breaks and all that kind of thing. Lomax is probably better under the high balls, all that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, shout out to Lomax. He helped me get a good week as well, 74 points. Got those two. I was a bit disappointed because he was on about 63 at halftime, and I was like, "You beauty! I'm ready for 100 points from Lomax. I'm ready to give him his own poem." And then, the Dragons were really outplayed in that second half, but they just had that good of a first half that they outplayed is probably the wrong way to say it, because they were still good in defense in the second half, but Rabbitohs had more of the ball in the second half, so Lomax wasn't able to do as much. 1404 this week, Jacob. That's a really, really big score. Hopefully pushes you into the top 1k. I think that's a massive score this week, so I think you're probably looking at a big green arrow. So if you're close to top 1k, I think you have a good chance of being in there. What's par, by the way, lads? So yeah, we've spoken about this a little bit, Gazaraki. So I think par is probably about 1200, 1220, based on scores that I've seen in like the Podmasters Cup League, and then just what I've seen from other people on, say, Twitter. So I think 1220, 1230 is about par. I think if you've got 1250 plus, you're looking at a good week. 1300 for sure, you're looking at a big green arrow, I think. Yeah, Ilias getting benched. Yeah, that was I'm not sure if I agreed with that. It's not like, yeah, fine, he wasn't having a great game, but none of the team were having a good game. Like, yeah, fine, he got hooked, but 3 of the tries the Rabbitohs conceded were on like Cody Walker and Campbell Graham's side, and Campbell Graham is like seen as one of the best defensive centers. So that was a bit strange, actually. He had a bit of an off game. Yeah, Ilias getting benched was not really good for his confidence. And the thing was, they brought on Taft to play fullback and Nikorima in at halfback. Didn't help them at all. So I feel like you could have just left him there, or if you're going to sub him off, I think it was like the 29th minute, give it like 10 minutes. Do it at halftime. It's less of a, like if you do it at halftime and you sub him then, like the physical act of actually seeing him getting subbed off isn't as, in your mind as, say, if it just happened at halftime, they made a switch. So yeah, it won't be good for his confidence. Supercoach wise, I don't think he's really been an option all season. Matt Moylan's glue hands. Yeah, he loved to dummy this week. So yeah, the left side really got starved of it. The ball went from Hines to like Wilton and Moylan, and then there was just a bit of a black hole there. It just didn't really get past him at all. So Moylan's had a couple of good weeks. I know last week someone did ask me about Matt Moylan. Probably should have not listened to my advice and got him, because he went like 90 plus, I think. Yeah, he got 90. So he's had a couple of good weeks. So yeah, could be an option maybe, but he's only available at fullback and 5'8", which really feel like tough spots to be buying him in. If he was anywhere else, you could maybe make a case, but yeah. Ilias hooked too early in your opinion. That whole team stunk, and yeah, Nikorima does that team no favours. Yeah, look, that's the thing. Their whole attack just still looked just as clunky, right? So it didn't really help them at all. What would I do with Payne Haas, Sean? I kind of mentioned it earlier. I think Payne Haas, the time to sell was probably this week, in terms of this was the last week to sell. With that 90 plus break even, getting 51 points, he's going to drop quite considerably. And I feel like if you are like a Max King owner, maybe we just have to play Max King over Payne Haas. I don't know. Excuse me. Because I think if he's close to 500k or even below that, I just don't see any value in actually selling him, because you're going to have to start paying up a lot of money then to get to the likes of a Tarpany, and you're going to use that money, I think, to get the likes of Pappenhausen, Harry Grant back, all these guns, maybe Tedesco. So I feel like I'd maybe just keep it as it is now. It really depends on who your depth in front row forward is. Like if you've got a Tamalolo or a Max King as your third, I'd just be happily playing them maybe over Haas, but I wouldn't be selling. Time to trade Cooler. Yeah, so Cooler scored about 38, which is like right back in his wheelhouse of what he's done all season long. He did have a negative break even. I'm not sure what his break even would become now, but he doesn't probably have that much more cash to make, so I think he probably can be sold soon. For maybe a cheap centre wing option, maybe via duels, like a Mitch Barnett kind of thing is what I was suggesting earlier. Just joined, so you may have covered already. Thoughts on Hughes for the run home. So we haven't actually spoken about Jerome Hughes. So I didn't really speak about it. I've kind of mentioned it in past streams. I haven't really made like whole topics about it, but I really feel like that halfback spot is the best spot at the moment that you can really kind of pot up in for round 17 cover. So, and most people probably have bought Ezra Mam, and look, Ezra Mam has done really well this week. Obviously a bit of a low week, but he's playing the Melbourne Storm. But like Mitchell Moses and Jerome Hughes, I highlighted. These are the two guys I think who cover round 17 who really can be a pod if you're looking to chase rank, who have got upside. Like Moses, the last 2 weeks, I think has gone 80 and then 77 this week. Jerome Hughes does have that upside, especially when there's no Pappenhausen. When say like 3 of their big 4 or 3 of their spine, they all will tend to do well. When all 4 of them are playing, there seems to be a point where one of them on average each week will miss out. So right now Hughes is a great option. In round 17 there won't be Munster or Grant, so most of the attack will probably go through Pappenhausen if he's back, and Jerome Hughes. And Jerome Hughes is a big try scorer. He scored a lot of tries, so even without goal kicking, he does have that upside. So I think Jerome Hughes is a great option at halfback. I'm just keen to see what his price is. So he's 633k, and he won't get any cheaper because he cleared his break even as well. So yeah, Jerome Hughes. I've never really owned him much, but I do always get a bit of a fancy for him. It just feels like there's always money I can spend elsewhere. But yeah, look, I think Hughes could be a great option, Jaden. And yeah, sorry, just to answer the other part of your question, would you run with him already owning Munster? Yeah, I don't see an issue with that. Kind of touched on it already with with 4 of the Melbourne spine. 3 of them I feel like always tend to do well each week. But look, if you're getting a piece of what I consider the second best team behind Penrith, you can't be too mad with that. Thoughts on Nick Meaney? Yeah, there's been a few Nick Meaney questions in the last few weeks. So originally I think I said sell because I think he had a high break even. Now he scored 85 points. His price isn't really cheap, 534k. The only reason, I would say he's a don't buy, don't sell. If you own him, you're obviously very happy, and he'll be goal kicking. Well, actually, if Pappenhausen is back round 16, unless Pappenhausen still is not fully over that leg injury and he doesn't goal kick straight away, then that's still good for Nick Meaney. So I feel like unless you're low on trade, unless you've got enough trades, if you've got trades to play with, you can maybe bring him in as a kind of a 2 or 3 week play and then flip him again afterwards. I don't view him as a season keeper. A season average of 56 is solid, 5 round average of 61, so you can't really complain, but that is taking into account the fact that he was goal kicking. When you take that out, that's obviously going to reduce some of his points and his ceiling a little bit. So yeah, I consider him a don't buy, don't sell. And yeah, to answer your question, Jacob, yeah, I think you probably will have to move him on eventually when Pappenhausen's fully back. But yeah, a great option to hold for the next few weeks. Scored 1141 at rank 645. What do you think I dropped to? Isaac, it's always hard to say because all the updates haven't even come in yet. If you own King or Karaz, their scores might change a lot and they might be even different. But yeah, I would say that probably is just about a red at your rank. I think you might just have a chance of staying in the top 1,000 though. Maybe around that 800, 900 as an initial guess, but it's really hard to have a think of that. Jaden, making that point about only 3 scoring good turns me off. Look, Jaden, that's my own thinking. There's no number analysis behind this. That might be a worthwhile exercise actually in the next week with the lack of games coming up, just to take a look into that exercise. So I won't just take that and say, oh, okay, that's fine, I'm not going to buy any of them then. That's just something I feel like I've noticed, but I'm happy to look into that further and maybe present that in a video or something. But yeah, there's no number analytical analysis behind that. Storm's second team behind Penrith, who both lost at home to the mighty Eels, mate. Benny, mate, I also saw on your Twitter, mate, I hope you had a fantastic weekend. I saw you went down to the game, and obviously it was a fantastic game as well. It would have been amazing to see that in person. So yeah, I hope you had a great weekend, and I saw your boy as well was very chuffed getting a picture with the man Sean Lane. So yeah, I hope you had a good weekend, mate. Would you hold McInnes now that Finucane is back? Yeah, I'd be interested to see what happens going forward, say Finucane goes to a starting role. But yeah, I don't I think someone asked it a little bit earlier if I view him as a season keeper. Yeah, so Zach, you asked, do you reckon McInnes is not a season keeper now to Finucane coming back? Yeah, I don't think he'll be in your top 17. He could be that really handy 18th, 19th option who maybe averages around 55, 60 that you can plug in. Don't forget, he's got dual status, which is really handy as well. So I wouldn't consider him a season keeper. I bought him a few weeks back, so I've got a couple of decent scores out of him, so my view on him is a little bit different as well. If you've only just bought him in last week, I think you'd be pretty disappointed with the output that you've gotten. I think he's gotten 48 and 63, which is kind of a 55 average. So yeah, I think it remains to be seen. Finucane played 39 minutes. And so if that creeps up and that actually does diminish McInnes's, then I would be a little bit more concerned at that point in time. And then I'd maybe look to sell or something like that. Cody Walker a sell. It's really tough because, God, the Rabbitohs looked awful, but surely you can't see them playing that bad again next week. So next week, who do the Rabbitohs have? I think they've got a slightly tougher game from memory. They've got the Eels. Yeah, okay. They've got the Eels, and then they've got the Knights, and then the Bulldogs. I feel like Cody to Hughes does feel sideways. I feel like that's chasing points a little bit, just because Hughes has only just done well this week. I don't think I'd be doing that move, Isaac. I don't think he's a sell either. He's a sell in round 19 for sure, because I'll quickly bring it back up again. Sorry, I flicked off it already. So if you look from round 19 onwards, it's a horrible run. Melbourne, Sharks, Warriors, which is okay, but then it's Parramatta, Penrith, Cowboys, and Roosters. Really, really tough run to end the season. So Cody, I still think is probably just about okay to hold. Depends obviously on your trade situation. Like I would say, yeah, Hughes is a better option for round 17 than Cody, but Cody does have the draw. Knights in round 17 is a good game, don't forget that. But yeah, round 19, I'd be selling immediately. You've got 20 trades left. Sean, that's heaps of trades. 20 trades is heaps. I'm on 13, and that's after holding this week. Would you sell Cobbo now? Surely peaked in price, mate. I have I've kind of blocked Cobbo from my memory ever since he's burnt me. He scored a try and he scored 45 points. So he's probably just about peaked in price. And they've got the Cowboys, and then he'll miss round 17 with Origin. Does have the Titans, but yeah, I think with the amount of options for round 17, if you don't have one of those guns, like a Katoa, Mulatalo, even a To'o, if you don't have To'o, I'd probably look to sell Cobbo at that price. I think you've made a lot of good money. You've got some good points out of him. But yeah, probably could be sold. Isaac Tango, yeah. There's a few questions about Tango, sorry. I'm trying to get into the habit of pronouncing the players' surnames the proper way, if I'm going to speak about their name all the time. And if any coincidence, I actually watch these videos. So is Tango still a hold? That's a really tough one. So he's updated to 38, which is not great. Like, it's not horrible, but in that game against the Warriors, like, the Panthers scored 40 points. I think the problem is that they've got so much attack across the field that it's similar to the Melbourne thing that we were talking about with their spine. Very easily, Tango, the Panthers can score 50 points and Tango can get snowball. And, Taylor May did well. Kikau had a bit of a lower night. But, Isaiah Yeo, Coruscant, To'o, Cleary, Dylan Edwards, a bunch of these other guys did well. So Tango is a really tough one. I think it's a really tough one. So, like, I've got him in my second row forward. So I'm thinking, could I maybe sell him for a round 17 guy like a Mitch Barnett? Maybe a Kolomatangi if I want to get my numbers up for that week. A few people I can see, James, you said you sold Tango for To'o. So my opinion on that was it's not a good move. I tried to add to it. And obviously this was seeing that they had the Warriors come up and I could see that maybe Tango gets like 100 plus in that game. Obviously it didn't happen. So if you've done that trade, that's really worked out for you because To'o smashed it, got a double. I still feel the same way kind of because like any day they could just be attacking the left hand side and Tango gets maybe 60, 70. He's had 100 plus score this season, so he does have a ceiling. We just haven't seen the ceiling a lot, if that makes sense. So if we quickly look at a breakdown of his scores here, I might need to do a bit of a deep dive into him just to see is he worth the hold. Like a 61 average throughout the season is really, really good. You can't complain about that. So he's had a 90 and he's had 100. Otherwise, most of his scores are around between 50 to 70. Most of them are kind of in the 50s. So it's not the worst sell. I'll put it that way. I mean, round 18 with the Tigers, though. This is the problem with Panthers. I feel like I just want their players all the time because they have such an attacking juggernaut. But yeah, to To'o, like To'o is going to give you 40 to 50 points probably each week, guaranteed. That's one thing I will say. And bloody To'o, his price is going to skyrocket. I feel like it was a really good week to buy him this week, To'o, because his low price, and now he's got 2 back-to-back hundreds. He's going to skyrocket in price now. So yeah, Corey, sold Cobbo for Toto. That's a really, really, really handy trade that you've done there. I'm very jealous of that. I just didn't feel like I had any on my team. Like, I could have sold Aiken. I didn't have the duels though. I would have had to sell one of Karaz or Cooler again. I maybe could have sold Cooler for it, but there was no good cheap options in second or forward to make it work. See the new Origin selection. So let me have a quick look on Twitter. I've seen some of the proposed changes. I haven't seen like an official release yet from the New South Wales Blues. Let me have a quick look see here. Okay, so they haven't posted anything yet, but I did see sorry, let me find your name. Greg. Yeah, so Greg, I did see some of the new people coming in to the Origin team. Like, I've seen Talakai's potentially on the bench. Matt Burton looks like he's got a centre wing spot. Jake Tavoyevich is back. Angus looks to be back as well. So guys like Madison, this is really big actually. We should discuss it. Madison scored 69 points, I think, in about 62 minutes. So, yeah, a serious second or forward option for round 17 if he's not playing Origin, and a genuine keeper, I would say, as well. So, yeah, like, for example, look, he's really expensive. He will drop in price. If you've got cash, Nat Butcher to Madison, I know that's a lot of money. You could do that, potentially. But yeah, Madison could be a serious gun option for your second or forward if he's not in the Origin squad any longer. Because, yeah, he'll cover round 17 at that point. So what other guns am I targeting for after round 17? So, yeah, after round 17, I'd say in the second or forward, guys like Madison, I'd probably want for round 17. But like maybe a Cam Murray as well. He's been probably the best second or forward all season. So he's one potentially for second or forward. Harry Grant, I think for sure for hooker. I'm going to want to get him back. I don't think I can run with Appy and McInnes all season long. Definitely going to want Pappenhausen. I think that's close to a must-have, especially if he's in round 17. We have to get him, I think. And then also probably one more kind of fullback. So I'll quickly just hop over to my team. Might make a bit more sense if I talk about it this way. So like if I look at my team, I think hooker, once I get in Harry Grant, I'm happy with a Harry Grant plus a McInnes / Coruscant, whichever one of the two I want to keep. Front row forward, I think IPAP, Payne Haas, Max King. If Max King keeps us up, I don't think I really need to change this too much either. Second row forward, there's definitely room to improve. I think Olaquatu and Angus I'm fine to keep. Could be for the rest of the season. It's probably just that third second row forward spot I want to beef up a little bit. So maybe a Madison or a Cam Murray. So that's probably one. And then maybe have like a Talakai or a Tango as the fourth. So that's definitely one area. Ezra Mam, despite how good he's been, I'm not sure if he can particularly be a season keeper. And yeah, quickly on the hooker spot. So Tyler, yeah, Damien Cook, he has scored really well recently. So it might not be Harry Grant is the definitive one. Maybe I get Damien Cook in. The problem is Tyler, that run home for the rest of the season for the Rabbitohs is a bit tougher. So I feel like Cook's upside might get capped a little bit. But he is a middle forward, I guess. So it's not really as dependent on the draw. I just think Grant will be when he's fit and firing, and the Storm, I think he probably will be the number one option to go for in that spot. So yeah, that's a couple there. Ezra Mam, despite how good he's been, I'm not sure if he will be a season keeper. So that halfback spot, I'll probably switch Nico Hines up there. And then what I'll try to do is maybe get in a fullback spot then. It'll probably be maybe a Tedesco, maybe a Drinkwater. Could be an option as well because he's actually been killing it. And the Cowboys have a pretty soft run, I think, for the rest of the season as well. 5'8", I'm happy with. Shout out to Dylan Brown again. 84 points. He's been awesome for me all season long. Absolutely love the guy. So my 5'8s are set. Center wing is looking pretty strong, but I definitely still think there could be a couple of spots to maybe improve upon. Like, despite Lomax being okay, he might not be a season keeper, so I might beef that up maybe with a Brian Toto. I think he's probably another gun I might want to get in after round 17. And then in the fullback spot, Pappenhausen. So this is the thing about holding the trades. Like, there's like Pappenhausen, maybe a Murray, a Grant, maybe a Tedesco / Drinkwater / Toto. There's like 4 or 5 guns that I want to get back in for, and I've got 13 trades. So I really need to be very selective with my trades, which is part of the reason why I held this week. But yeah, there's a few names for you, Corey, as to who I'm... Oh, sorry, not Corey, who asked the question? Tom asked the question. You still have Brodie Jones. Do I hold and hope he plays 17? I think so, Corey, just because he's pretty cheap from memory, and there's an off chance someone gets injured, and then maybe Brodie Jones gets a spot for round 17. So I think if you're this close now, just keep him and hope. And then after that, you can punt him if you need to. Moz, your man, bad watch Top Gun, but I had to tune in for a bit. Thank you, Moz, for joining. Yeah, I really want to watch Top Gun. I watched the old one recently. I need to watch Top Gun in cinemas and use my Die and Discover as well, because I've heard it's a really good movie. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that, Moz. Matter went off early in the first half with a back issue, so probably played a bit less. He still played about 62 minutes, so he still played some decent minutes. And that's the thing, the Eels, man, they're just offloading non-stop, and Madison is a big offloader, which is so good for Supercoach. You just get easy points that way. Tango to Murray on the price drop this week. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, you could go for Murray for round 16. He'll miss round 17 though, and then has to back up round 18. I just feel like I'd rather maybe, if I was going to spend that much, maybe just go for Madison, who will probably cover me for round 17 at that point. Best round 17 front row forwards. Now, Fletcher, you are asking the tough questions, because that is really, really difficult to get round 17 front row forwards. Like, honestly, there's not really much there. So if we go to players, let's filter for front row forward. We'll sort it by average. And I'll also filter for round 17 teams. So we've got the Broncos. We've got the Storm. We've got Newcastle. We've got Parramatta. We've got Sharks. We've got Dragons. We've got Rabbitohs and Tigers. Okay. So these are the best round 17 front row forwards on average. Offengower we've kind of spoken about. He again got 60 points this week, so definitely just hitting his average. Clemmer had a bit of a low week, and I think Barnett I would actually prefer, but obviously you're talking about front row forwards. Twal had a pretty bad injury. Jai Arrows in Origin. Josh King has been really bad since Tuikamika has come back. James Tarma scored a try, but I wouldn't be banking on him. You're really not looking at a lot, Fletcher, is what I'm trying to say. It's not a spot I'll be trying to prioritize my trade. So if you notice when we went through that exercise of who are the guns I'd want after round 17, didn't really speak about that many front row forwards. It's just really not a good position at the moment. Maybe a Junior Paulo, but again, he'll be off with Origin, of course. So he's not even an option, is he? There was this guy Kai Rodwell from the Parramatta Eels. So he scored a grand total of 1 point. We're not going to find him here. There we go. Kai Rodwell, 1 point. So obviously there's been this issue with Nathan Brown. He's not really part of the Eels setup any longer, or they're not wanting him in the team. So they brought this guy in, Kai Rodwell. I think he played about 2 minutes, and he knocked it on, I think, in his first carry, and then scored 1 point. So look, by round 17, he could be a really cheap option. Maybe he plays some bigger minutes, and then the problem is, if he continues to play for the rest of the season, he's going to be an AE nightmare, which you're not going to want. So he's only good if he goes down in price a bit and then becomes enough. You have to Tarpany, Lolo, and Max King, I'm going to guess. Yeah, Fletcher, I think I'll just leave your front row forward. It's not a high upside position. Unless you don't have IPAP, I'd be getting IPAP in for round 17. Unless you've obviously got him in, say, second row forward. Drinkwater worth a hold or upgrade to Brown. This is a tough one because, obviously Dylan Brown had another good game. He had a bit of a low game last week. It's a tough one. I think Drinkwater, that's the problem, is that the 5'8" fullback spot does have high upside. For example, if Pappenhausen's back and Drinkwater's who you have to sell for Pappenhausen, I'd say sell him. Because Drinkwater has been really, really good. I think he could be a genuine season keeper. He's got a higher average, I believe, than Dylan Brown. The run home is really nice as well, I think. So you've got Tigers, that game stretch between 19 and 23, even 24 if you want to include the Rabbitohs. I think the Cowboys are better than all of those teams except Penrith in round 25. So if you look at that draw, Manly, Broncos, Sharks, Tigers, round 19 especially, Tigers, Dragons, Bulldogs, Roosters, Warriors. It's a really good run. I feel like you could just keep him. So it's a tough question. I think the Eels have the Rabbitohs this week, so Dylan Brown will be a good option, I believe, this week as well. I can see Moz very tempted to bin Cody Walker's shenanigans for deal bags. I'm feeling justified for that decision I made a few weeks back when I sold Cody Walker for Munster instead of Dylan Brown. I feel like I'm happy with that decision, I think, because I love Dylan Brown, and Rabbitohs just not clicking at all, are they? I feel like Moz, someone asked this question earlier. I feel like with Cody, you've got to kind of just hold him until round 17 or at least round 18, sorry, because I've got the Bulldogs in that week as well. But look, I'm really bad with these kind of decisions though, because I'm very conservative and I just say, I'll just hold him. He'll cover round 17, but you could actually miss out, Cody to Dylan Brown. Maybe Dylan Brown outscores him by like 150 points, hypothetically, say, until round 19. It's probably worth a trade at that point, right? I'm just really bad at like kind of in my head processing that. I'm thinking, but he's got the good draw, he's got the round 17 cover. I feel like you can maybe use a trade better elsewhere, but it could be that kind of decision that's kind of a bit of a risk that you need to take. And also it saves you further trades down the line, in that if you've done it earlier, you can then focus on other stuff in your team. So yeah, look, I can't really give a definitive answer on the whole Cody situation. It's really poor, but I just can't see them being that bad again, really. Aman, a pressing issue is doubts exist over Cody. Do you think it's best to go to Brown or Drinkwater after round 17? Well, if you're talking after round 17, I really like the Cowboys run home for the rest of the season. After that, I'll take a quick look at the Eels. So if I look at Eels draw for the run home after round 17, yeah, they've got the Tigers, Warriors, Broncos. They've got an okay, it's not as good, I'd say, as the Cowboys, like, Penrith in round 20 and then Melbourne in round 25. But the thing is, the Eels are that kind of team that they just, they're so hot and cold, right? They lose to the Tigers, they lose to the Bulldogs, and they're beating Melbourne, Penrith, the Roosters. Like, it's so weird to get a view on them. Yeah, there's a few questions actually asking about Cody Stillbags. It's more people than I thought actually thinking about that. Might need to do that, a bit of a topic for the round 16 preview. Aman, just got to say thanks for helping us all out. Oh, appreciate that a lot, Sean. So actually, quick announcement as well. We'll wrap up the stream in about 5-10 minutes, but I've added to the channel, it's a YouTube membership. So look, there's absolutely zero obligation to this, by the way. Like, there's no change in content if you're a member or not a member. Nothing is going to be exclusive to members, not at all. I've set it to the cheapest possible price per month as well. It's just a thing, if you want to show some support to the channel, you can sign up to be like a channel member. And you get a little badge next to your name, say in the live chat or on YouTube comments, your name comes up with a badge. And you also get like some access to some like custom emojis. So I've set a few custom emojis, like a green arrow, a red arrow that you can enter. I've got one emoji that also says poem ? If you want to have a poem request for a player. And I added a fourth one, which was like, what a man. If you've got a player that you want to shout out for this week, give him a what a man. It's a bit of a pun on my name as well. So I will mention that is on the channel now as well, if anyone is interested. But again, I want to reinforce that there's no expectation for people to join. No change in content as well. We do this for the fun of it. The fact that you guys are here and watching is all I care for. And look, if you just want to show some extra support, it's an option. But yeah, want to reiterate, won't be any change in content for non-paying members or anything like that as well. You want Dillbacks with the run home, so I'm going to trade him in eventually. Yeah, I can see Moz why you're tempted. When you've got Cody. If the Eels didn't have the Tigers in round 17, I'd be like, nah, don't do it. It's got the Tigers in round 17, and the Tigers are looking awful, aren't they? Absolutely got pumped by the Bulldogs. Let's trot. Yeah, it's a tough one. Look, we've got a couple of weeks. We've got rep round. Something else could happen. We'll sit on it. Excuse me. We'll sit on it for a couple of weeks until round 16 happens. But yeah, tough one. Tough decision. It is, as I said, it's a tough decision that I'm not really good at making. Those kind of decisions where trading out a buy coverage player for another one, but the upside and the points gap could actually be worth it. Hey Tommy, hey man, just want to say Tarpany hurts me. Join the club. Tarpany does hurt me as well as a non-owner. I chose Clemmer over him round 12, and I think he's gone 80 plus every game since. Ooh, that's rough. Yeah, I think round 12 is when Tarpany's kind of started this massive run. He's been awesome. Any owners of Tarpany have been absolutely loving it. So yeah, Clemmer, look, I think I mentioned in this week's video, people were selling Haas. I did say I'd probably prefer Tarpany over Clemmer just because he's got the upside. And the man's out there throwing cutout balls to his left winger, getting a try assist, line break assist, and plus like 55 points in base power. And I'm thinking, why do I not own this guy? It's because of my bias to Ricky Roulette. frustrating one. But look, happy Tarpany owners out there. Manly didn't go right much the other night. Yeah, Manly, they're kind of going through the middle a bit. Oluquatu had a bit of a quieter night, but don't forget, if you're saying that from an Oluquatu perspective, he did go over the line and just knocked it on, so he was close to a try. And also Tui Pelotu got a double as well, so the right side still got their fun as well. You want to move on Gus for a round 17 player as he's your bench second row forward, best option. So look, I'm kind of not really for selling Angus, but if you are, John. So a couple of the options we mentioned for round 17. So Madison, if it is true that he is dropped from New South Wales squad, if the same thing happens for round 17 and then he plays in round 17, I'd say he's close to a must for that week. And if the only way to get to him is, say, by selling Angus, then okay. So I'd say Madison, probably the best 2RF for round 17. After that, other ones maybe like a Barnett. So Barnett, we spoke about a little bit earlier. He's actually done pretty well playing on an edge. Knights actually have a decent run home for the rest of the season. Maybe another one is like Kolomatangi. But again, Kolomatangi, the Rabbitohs, tough run for the rest of the season. I'm not sure how much stock you have in them. So there's not too many options, I will admit. But yeah, maybe a Madison by the look of it. Maybe then a Mitch Barnett. For the Eels, a couple of people were asking me about Niokore as well. So Niokore in the game day was actually benched. But he did end up, with the last few weeks he has started, I should say. So he ended up on 42 points, which is not a lot, but he's fairly cheap. He's 366k, I want to say. Yeah, 366k with a 22 break even, so he'll go up a little bit. He does have dual status, so you can get him as a 2RF center wing, which is pretty handy. And recently he's averaged, I think, about 50 plus. So yeah, 53 and 52. And I checked actually this on NRL SuperCoach Stats, and that was all in base. Now, obviously, this week is a little bit down, 42 points. I'll have a quick look. I don't believe he got any attacking stats in that. So he got 42. Yeah, 20 tackles. Oh, yeah, all in base, basically, from Niokore. So, yeah, Niokore with 42 in base. I'm just going to have a quick look at what his minutes were. So just bear with me for a second. Just trying to get an idea of his PPM. So he played Niokore. He played 37 minutes. So look, 42 points in 37 minutes is pretty good output. And actually in round 17, you'd expect they won't have Junior Paulo, so he's probably going to play some extra minutes. So he could be a cheap round 17 option if people are looking for more budget. Niokore dual, he could be a consideration as well. But again, this is the problem. Round 17, second row forwards, there doesn't seem to be that many options, but he could be one. Watching the Whisperer getting 90% of his 50-50 calls right makes me think he knows stuff that we don't. No, Tommy, he's just like, this is part of the game, isn't it? Like, you have to take these 50-50s and the luck has to go your way sometimes. Sometimes you find something like hidden, like, Adam Elliott, he's found as a good option. That's worked out for him. So part of it's luck, but part of it's also just him just being able to watch a lot of the games and pick out things, looking at numbers and stuff. Cotter to Madison, yeah, I don't mind that, Amir, actually. Took a poo for 20 minutes and you're still on, you bloody legend. Gazraki, thank you so much. Yeah, we've just hit the hour mark and I can see that Luke said the New South Wales extended squad has just dropped. Okay. So I'll take a quick look at that. Luke, is there a post that they've done that, or has that been like, have they dropped a lineup? Let me have a quick look here. Because I just saw a picture of Freddie on my timeline. Because I can't really play audio while I'm streaming as well. Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah, okay, they're doing a bit of a... Okay. So, I've just found something on my Twitter. Let's see if I can... I'll try... Okay, let me bring this up on screen. Give me a second. Alright, we'll go through this NRL... We'll go through the New South Wales team a little bit. And then we will... Because I don't get flagged for copyright if I do this. Will I get flagged for copyright if I do this? Alright, that's it. So, hopefully you guys can see that. Yeah, Tedesco, Toto, Crichton. So yeah, Burton in centre wings, that's what it looks like. You've got Paulo and Haas as props. So that the changes on the bench. So it looks like Talakai's coming into the bench, which is pretty interesting. Coruscant, there was some talk about Coruscant, and then Travojevic and Angus Crichton. So the whole bench has actually changed. And so, yeah, it could be that Suwali's 18th man and Hines is 19th man. So, yeah, I think that makes it look better for Madison for round 17 coverage. But, some of these changes were being hinted at, so not too many surprises. I don't mind the Burton shout at centre wing. He's got that Penrith cover, and he's been in really, really good form recently. It's just a shame, though, that Adokar's not there with him. I still think Adokar would have chosen in the first place, but yeah. Aman, do you play much Steam games? No, Gazrak, I don't really play too many games from Steam. I normally just play FIFA in my spare time. Moylan is a good pod. Yeah, Frank, Moylan has done pretty good the last couple of weeks. But, yeah, I think the problem is that he's in key spots of fullback and 5'8", which is a bit hard to fit in when you're trying to get eventually the likes of a Munster, Dylan Brown, Pappenhausen, Tedesco kind of thing as well. But obviously could be cover for round 17. Hines, 19th man, good for round 17. I thought that the 19th man still couldn't go back for their club. I'm not sure. Like, who was the 19th man for the... Because the thing is, I can't remember, because 19th... Okay, who was 19th man for the Blues in game 1? I know Hines was 18th man. Let's have a quick look-see here. State of Origin, game 1, player stats. Oh, so 19th man actually can go back to their club by the look of it. Okay, yeah, so if Hines is 19th man, that's really good for round 17 then. So I know there was some talk about maybe selling Hines for, like, say, Pappenhausen, but if he covers 17, then hold for sure. Is Talakai a sell? So yes, look, he is in the bench. If he is in the bench for game 3, there is some decisions to be made there, I think, because round 17 onwards, the Sharks do have a pretty tough month. So they've got, we'll quickly look at Mulatala as an example. I think this will be the last question I'll take, guys. I'll probably wrap up the stream here, but definitely worth thinking about. So 17 onwards, Melbourne, Cowboys, and then Penrith. So there's a stretch there where you probably think that Talakai is a bit capped. Maybe there's an argument to sell him at that point. If he's in your second row forward, for example, if he's my only way to get to, like, a Madison, I might have to do it. So yeah, I wouldn't say outright sell, but yeah, being part of the Origin squad is not ideal. And if it looks like he is on the bench, is what that team was predicting, then yeah, for game 3, that's not ideal at all, is it? And actually, we'll end on this note. I like this. If someone told me at the start of the year that Max King would be worth almost as much as Haas at some point in the season, I would have laughed at them. Amar, this is the beauty of this game. We never know what happens. Beauty of sport in general. So unpredictable. And yeah, feels for Josh Adokar. Yeah, he couldn't get back in there. Yeah, anyway. Alright guys, probably going to end the stream there. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We've just hit over an hour, so hopefully you all had a good week. We got through some of your questions as well. Didn't necessarily have to wrap up some of the games, but I like a bit more of the interaction from you guys coming in and posting your questions. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And yeah, anyone who's just caught the end of this, so I've added this channel memberships thing. It won't change any of the content. You won't have to pay for content. But if you want to show some support to the channel, that's an option. And you've got some badges and some emojis that you can also put in live stream and YouTube comments. So yeah, check that out if you're interested, but no obligation to do so at all. All right, guys, going to end the stream there. Hope you all have a great weekend. See you all in the next one.